I paid for my sister's dream wedding, $52,300 out of my savings. During her speech, she giggled, my sister always knew how to pick men. And then hand them over, as her new husband stared at me the entire time. My ex. The same one who said, "You're not wife material," right before dumping me by text. I still can't believe you're okay with this, I said, watching Ava brush lip gloss on in the mirror. She grinned at me like we were sharing a joke. It's not that deep, Ray. You guys weren't even together that long. 2 years is long enough. She sighed, like I was the one being difficult. You didn't marry him. I am. Let it go. You know when people say they feel like their life is being narrated by someone else during trauma? That was me during Ava's wedding. I was physically present. Smiling. Pouring champagne. Checking in with vendors and guests. But mentally, I was far away, like I'd floated out of my own body and was watching it all happen to some other woman, a woman who had helped plan every detail of her sister's wedding to her ex-boyfriend. Let me back up. I'm Raylan, or Ray, 38 years old, living in Austin, Texas. No kids, no husband, just me and my cat, Marshall. I work in logistics and operations for a shipping firm. Not glamorous, but it pays very well, and I've always been careful with my money. I'd built up a comfortable life. My younger sister, Ava, is different. Ava has never planned ahead a day in her life. She's gorgeous, loud, impulsive, and everyone seems to adore her for it. Parents included. While I was staying up late helping our mom with bills in high school, Ava was sneaking out to meet boys on the lake. While I paid my way through community college and then university with a work-study job, she bounced between majors and men, landing in fashion merchandising for exactly 6 months before quitting to find her path. Despite all of that, I was the one she leaned on when she needed help. And I gave it, every time. Even when she crashed her car and needed mine for just a few weeks. Even when she ran up a $7,000 credit card bill and called me sobbing because she couldn't pay rent. Even when she showed up at my apartment at 2 a.m. after her boyfriend locked her out during a fight and I gave up my bed. I never got the appreciation I probably hoped for. But I was used to being the dependable one. The fixer. The responsible older sister. So, when she called me in full-blown emotional glee, shrieking that she was engaged, I was happy for her. Until she said his name. Nolan. I dropped the phone. Literally. It fell onto the counter, and I just stared at it for a second before picking it back up. Wait, Nolan Miller? I asked. Yeah. Oh my God, you remember him? She said, completely clueless. I remembered him, all right. He was the one who ghosted me after 2 years together, right after I'd brought him to our family's Christmas. He'd left me a text that read, "You're amazing, Ray. But you're not wife material. I need something different. I hope we can stay friends." That text destroyed me. It triggered a spiral of therapy, wine, and deleting my Hinge account for 6 months. And now he was marrying my sister. Ava laughed when I asked if she was serious. You're over him, right? I mean, this is kind of perfect, isn't it? We're practically keeping him in the family. They got engaged in Napa. There was a whole Instagram highlight reel of the moment. Champagne, sun hats, designer bags. I felt nauseous just watching it. Ava wanted a destination wedding in Sedona, Arizona. Expensive venue. 4-day itinerary. Guests flying in from both coasts. And zero concept of budget. Babe, can you cover the deposit? She asked me one evening over wine. Just while we wait for Nolan's bonus to come through. I should have said no. But I didn't. Because I'm me. Because I knew she hadn't planned anything and the wedding was already 5 months out. Because saying no to Ava never felt like an option growing up. That first $7,000 deposit turned into $52,300 over the course of 5 months. The caterer wanted half up front. The photographer needed payment at booking. She found a dress that cost nearly $6,000. Ava kept promising Nolan's family would reimburse me after the wedding. They're good for it, she said with a wave of her hand. They own real estate. The wedding was gorgeous. Every detail. And I made it that way. I coordinated the colors, florals, the weekend schedule, the hotel blocks, the welcome bags with handmade soaps and mini bottles of tequila. I scheduled every van and shuttle, managed the RSVP list, and kept my face calm even when Nolan wouldn't look me in the eye. Everyone kept telling me how kind and generous I was. I could never help my sister like this, one bridesmaid told me. You're like next level. Then came the reception. We'd made it through the ceremony. Through photos. Through cocktail hour. I'd kept my face on, made toasts, and helped an elderly uncle find the bathroom. My feet ached. My stomach was tight. And then Ava took the mic. She was glowing, laughing, clearly tipsy, and fully basking in the limelight. I want to thank my sister Raylan, she said, and everyone clapped. She basically made this whole wedding happen. Literally. Like, she paid for it. Polite chuckles. I felt myself flush. She's always been the smart one, she went on. And she always had good taste in men. I mean, right? She picked Nolan first. There was a flicker of confusion in the crowd. Some heads turned. And then, like the amazing big sister she is, she handed him right over. A pause. Laughter, hesitant and scattered. I locked eyes with Nolan, who wasn't even pretending to be embarrassed. He raised his glass to me and smiled. I left. I didn't wait for dessert. Didn't grab my bag. I walked straight to the valet and drove to the next town over, stayed in a roadside motel, and cried until I passed out. The next morning, I turned my phone on and found 42 missed calls and texts. From Ava, don't be dramatic. From my mom, what happened? From my dad, come back and talk to your sister. From Nolan, no hard feelings I hope. I blocked every one of them. Back in Austin, I consulted with a lawyer and filed a claim for the full amount. Ava and my parents were furious. I told them they could deal with me through court. I wasn't playing nice anymore. The case is still ongoing. But I have all the receipts. And I've started to realize, it was never about the money. It was about respect. And I finally saw how little of it I had in my own family. The hardest part wasn't blocking Ava. It wasn't even filing the lawsuit and seeing my name opposite hers in legal paperwork. No. The hardest part came after that, when the silence set in. Ava didn't reach out again after the legal notice. Not a single text, email, or call. My parents, on the other hand, would not let it go. You've humiliated her, my mom said in a voicemail that I didn't answer but listened to twice. Do you want to break up this family over a misunderstanding? My dad added in an email titled Please, think about what you're doing. I didn't respond to either of them. For a while, I felt like the bad guy. It wasn't even guilt, I knew I was justified, but it was the loneliness that got me. It's isolating when you stand up for yourself in a family that's used to you staying silent. I started therapy again. A new one this time. Her name is Dr. Healy, and she doesn't let me deflect. During one session, I told her about the wedding speech. I laughed it off, tried to make it sound less cruel than it was. She said, very quietly, that's not a joke. That's a wound masked as humor. And it was weaponized. I sat there blinking back tears, thinking about all the other times Ava had said things like that. Less obvious jabs, subtler digs, the kind that make people laugh but leave you staring at the ceiling for hours after everyone else has gone home. And she was right. It wasn't new. Like the time Ava introduced me to a group of her friends in LA as my sister, she's super practical. Like, the kind of girl who brings a calculator to a date. Everyone laughed. Including me. But it stung for days. Or when Nolan and I were still together and I overheard Ava tell my mom that I wasn't fun enough for him. I'd let it slide. Back then, I told myself she didn't mean it. That she was insecure. That she was just being Ava. But once you start connecting those dots, it's hard to unsee the pattern. 3 months after the wedding, I got an email from the court clerk's office. A hearing had been scheduled. Ava had decided to contest the repayment. She filed a response stating that the money had been gifted and that no agreement had ever been made about reimbursement. I wanted to scream. I printed every receipt. Every Venmo transfer. Every invoice I paid. I printed texts where she said things like, "We'll pay you back when Nolan's raise hits," and "I owe you big time, this is just a loan, I swear." I felt sick preparing the packet, but it was necessary. I didn't tell anyone I was taking time off work for the hearing. I didn't want pity. I didn't even want support. I just wanted resolution. On the day of the hearing, I walked into the small courtroom wearing a navy dress I hadn't worn since a promotion ceremony 3 years ago. Ava was already there, wearing heels far too high for the linoleum floor, sitting next to Nolan, who looked like he'd just rolled out of a West Elm catalog and into a courtroom. Neither of them acknowledged me. We sat in front of a judge who seemed exhausted before the session even began. I presented my evidence quietly, without emotion. I didn't look at Ava once. She spoke next. Her voice shook, full of rehearsed distress. She told the judge that I had offered to cover expenses, that it was always framed as a gift, because I loved her. She even teared up when she said it. Like she was the victim. The judge was calm, but direct. He asked Ava if she had any documentation where I explicitly stated it was a gift. She didn't. Instead, she said, "I just assumed, because she's my sister." I stared at my hands, clutching the printouts I had organized with tabs and labels. The judge adjourned the hearing, said he'd take the matter under advisement, and issue a written decision within 2 weeks. I didn't wait to hear what Ava said as I left. I just walked straight to my car, got in, and sat there with my head against the steering wheel. Not because I was sad, but because I'd finally done something I should have done years ago. I chose myself. 2 days later, I found out Ava and Nolan had moved. Apparently, the apartment they were renting in Scottsdale had gone into foreclosure, some drama with the landlord, and they moved in with Nolan's parents in Santa Barbara temporarily. My mom told me this, half whispering it like it was a wrongdoing she wasn't sure how to handle. I think she expected me to express sympathy. I didn't. Instead, I said, "I hope they enjoy the guest room." She didn't call me for a while after that. Around this time, I started to take stock of everything I had let slide over the years. Not just with Ava, but with everyone. Family. Friends. Even work. I'd built this life of being the dependable one, but dependable so often translates to expendable if you're not careful. I started saying no. It felt strange at first, like wearing someone else's clothes. But I got used to it. I also started going out again. Nothing major, just happy hours, the occasional trivia night. I joined a local wine tasting group. One night, at a small winery about 40 minutes outside Austin, I ended up seated next to a man named Malik. We started talking over a glass of Tempranillo, and something about his energy felt easy. Not flashy. Just kind. I didn't tell him about Ava or Nolan. Not right away. But he didn't press. He asked good questions. He listened. We exchanged numbers at the end of the night, and he texted me later that evening, "I liked talking to you. Hope you made it home safe." It was such a small thing. But it made me cry in my car before I even started the engine. Malik and I started seeing each other quietly. There wasn't a grand announcement, no social media posts, no introductions to friends or families. It was slow, intentional. Safe. We'd meet for walks around Lady Bird Lake or coffee on Sundays before he headed to his late shift at the medical center where he worked as an imaging tech. He didn't push when I didn't offer much about my past. He noticed, of course. I could tell he had questions, but he never made me feel like I owed him answers. That was new for me. I wasn't used to space that felt like safety instead of silence. One night after dinner, we were sitting in my apartment, Marshall perched on the arm of the couch like he was evaluating Malik's worthiness, and I found myself blurting it out. My sister married my ex. And I paid for their wedding. Over 50 grand. Then she humiliated me during her speech. Malik blinked. Then said simply, Jesus. That was it. No forced empathy. No false outrage. Just genuine, unfiltered reaction. I kept talking, telling him more than I'd told anyone outside of my therapist. The wedding. The betrayal. The court case. How it cracked something open in me that I didn't realize had been tightly sealed for years. He didn't say, "That's crazy." He didn't say, "You should forgive her." He said, "She took advantage of you. And you finally said no." That's not something people like her forget or forgive. I don't know why that stuck with me, but it did. Because it was the first time someone outside my family didn't try to twist it into a misunderstanding or a bad joke gone wrong. He saw it plainly. As it was. We fell into a rhythm after that. Not a whirlwind romance, but something steadier. We texted throughout the week. Sometimes we spent Friday nights together, sometimes we didn't. There was no pressure. Just mutual ease. It was the first relationship I'd been in where I didn't feel like I was on trial. 2 weeks after the hearing, the court decision came in the mail. I didn't open it right away. I left the envelope on the kitchen counter for 3 hours, circling it like it might explode. Finally, I tore it open, hand trembling slightly. Judgment in favor of the plaintiff. Ava was ordered to repay the full $52,300 over a 24-month period, plus court fees. It was a hollow victory. Not because I didn't want the money back, I did, but because the win felt like closing a chapter that had already cost me more than dollars. I sat on the couch with the letter in my lap, staring at the ceiling, trying to feel something. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. My parents didn't acknowledge the ruling. No call. No email. No quiet congratulations or awkward attempts to smooth things over. Nothing. For the first time in my life, I didn't chase after their silence. I let it sit. One random Tuesday afternoon, I got an email from a name I hadn't seen in a while, Nolan. The subject line read, "Just reaching out." I should have deleted it. But curiosity is a persistent thing. The message was short, "I know things have been complicated. But I hope you're doing well. Ava's been struggling a lot lately, and I think about you more than I should. Just wanted to say that." I sat there, staring at those words, realizing something. He hadn't changed. Even now, with everything that had happened, he still managed to center himself in the narrative. "I think about you more than I should." Like that was some kind of compliment. Like it erased what he did. Like it made him interesting or noble. I didn't reply. I marked it as spam. And for the first time, it didn't feel like restraint. It felt like freedom. About a month later, my mom finally called. I didn't pick up. She called again a few days later and left a voicemail. Her tone was different, no longer demanding or scolding. Just tired. "Raylan, I don't know what to say anymore. Your sister's not well. She cries every day. She won't work. Nolan's parents are frustrated. I think the wedding wore off. I know you two had your issues. But your sisters." I deleted the message. Not out of anger. But because I had nothing left to give. Malik came over that night. He brought takeout from my favorite Thai place and rented a movie I mentioned liking once in passing. We sat on the floor with our food, and I told him about the email. The voicemail. The weird limbo of it all. He didn't say, "You should call her." He just said, "I'm proud of you." And I believed him. It's been over a year since Ava's wedding. Sometimes I catch myself replaying moments I wish I'd handled differently. I think that's human nature. But those moments come less frequently now, and when they do, they don't hit as hard. Therapy helped. Malik helped. Time helped, too. The court enforced the repayment judgment. After Ava ignored the first few notices, wage garnishment kicked in. Turns out, she'd taken a part-time marketing assistant job for a real estate firm in Santa Barbara, something she thought she could do on the side while still chasing influencer gigs. 20% of her paycheck now comes straight to me. Every month. Like clockwork. Sometimes I think that's the best kind of revenge: quiet, legal, clean. I never reached out to her again. She didn't apologize. Not once. But the money comes in, and that speaks louder than any hollow sorry she might have mustered. It wasn't just the financial win, it was the shift in power. For the first time in our lives, she couldn't charm her way out of consequences. My parents tried to mediate early on. When they realized I wasn't budging, they stopped trying. I see them occasionally, on neutral ground. Holidays, a lunch here and there. We talk about weather, groceries, and mutual acquaintances. The deeper conversations, the ones that matter, never come. That part stings a little, but it's survivable. I don't miss the emotional gymnastics. As for Nolan, well, karma handled him better than I ever could. Through the grapevine, OK, LinkedIn, and a mutual friend, I learned he left the job he bragged so much about. Rumors say he was let go after a major client deal went sideways and he tried to pass the blame onto a junior associate who had receipts. Classic Nolan. A few months after that, Ava posted a now-deleted Instagram story with the words "starting over broken heart sparkles." I didn't bother to click for context. I think that's the truest form of peace, when you don't even need the details anymore. Malik and I are still together. It's not some fairy tale ending, and we're both fine with that. It's slow, grown-up love. The kind that shows up without fanfare, stays through the quiet, and builds something steady in the background. We recently moved in together, nothing dramatic. My lease ended, he had the bigger kitchen, and it made sense. But it felt good. Right. He helped me repaint the living room last weekend. It's now a soft slate blue, the same color I once saw in a tiny coastal town cafe in Italy, where I promised myself I'd start over. I keep a framed photo from that solo trip on the bookshelf. I took it myself, a tiny alleyway in Florence, bathed in morning light, quiet and empty. It reminds me that I'm capable of creating peace for myself, even when the world around me is chaotic. Last month, I finally pulled the last $2,600 from what Ava owed. The full repayment was done. I sat with the check in my hand for a minute before depositing it. Then I did something petty. I took a screenshot of the deposit confirmation and mailed a printed copy to Ava, no return address, no note. Just the proof. It wasn't cruel. It was closed. I imagined her opening the envelope, seeing the cold, hard finality of it. I imagined the burn of realizing that I didn't need to say anything. Because I'd already said everything that mattered, with boundaries, with action, with silence. So here I am, a year later, no longer the sister who cleans up the mess, but the woman who walked away from it. I didn't need to destroy Ava. She did that on her own. All I had to do was stop protecting her from the consequences. And now? Now I sleep easy. I love better. I laugh louder. I live, fully and without apology. That's the revenge no one sees coming. And it's the kind that lasts.